Good evening, everybody. It is a gorgeous August evening, and I am super excited to take you guys on a garden tour. Fast tracking 2 or 3 months from when we put all our seedlings in the ground, we have had a huge success with our garden. And I am very excited to share with you some of our frustrations, some of our successes, and some of our learning curves. But I have to say that 90% of this experience has been really, really great. It was a wonderful opportunity for me, especially to stay grounded during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm really glad that we started. And we're going to be doing this again next year, for sure. So let's get started with the tour, and I hope you enjoy. Well, we might as well start this garden tour at the start of the garden. This is a plant called Wasabi Arugula. Wasabi Arugula is a perennial, and it was by accident that I stuck it right here at the beginning of the garden. I had no idea it was going to look like a miniature hedge, which is fantastic because it's, here's the walkway to the garden. We also get a little bit of shade here, which it tolerates well. I have been looking for recipes for Wasabi Arugula, and there's not a lot online, but I did find a absolutely wonderful Wasabi Arugula lemon and walnut pesto, which I'm super happy with. True to its name, it tastes like wasabi, very strong. I often come into the garden and just grab a couple of leaves and chew on them while I'm working in the garden. Carrots are one of my favorite things to pull out of the ground and eat straight from the garden. I love raw carrots. I don't particularly like them cooked with a meal, but I do like them in stews and soups and that kind of thing, so definitely freeze a few of these. I planted a row of orange carrots and I planted a row of ruby carrots. They're like a ruby color. Can't remember the names off the top of my head, but if you want to know, just leave me a comment down below in the video details section. And outside of that, we've had no problems with these, no carrot fly, nothing. Really excited to see what happens in the fall. I noticed a couple of carrots here that could use a little thinning, so I'm going to pluck one just to see where they're at. Probably, and oh my goodness, there we go. Look at that. That's one of the ruby colored carrots. It's already forming quite nicely, so maybe we'll be harvesting a few of these in 3 or 4 weeks. I hope so. Anyway, actually I should give it a little taste, see what it tastes like. dirt and all. Oh, that's a really good carrot. Yeah, that's a really nice one. I'm excited to see what that tastes like when it's full grown. All right, on to the next one. Okay, I do realize that this cucumber patch does not look super successful at the moment, but that is why I juxtapositioned it with this beautiful basket full of lovely cucumbers. Because contrary to what you see behind me, these cucumbers have been a huge success. They are called Early Fortune from West Coast Seeds. Maybe that's an indicator that they tend to die off early. I'm not sure if anybody knows why we may have lost our cucumber patch mid-August. Please leave your comments below, it would be greatly appreciated. But I'm super happy. This is our first year gardening, so I'm new at this and really, really happy with the 4 baskets full of cucumbers that I have harvested so far. We've done pickling, we've had lots of cucumber salad, we've been juicing cucumbers, and they've been phenomenal. They taste really great. Definitely going to do these again next year. Probably one of our top successes. And over the winter, I'm going to figure out what happened here, and we'll try again next year. I have a love-hate relationship with broccoli. I don't particularly like it raw, but I really do love a good broccoli soup, and I know it's really healthy for you. So I did plant broccoli this year, and I picked a variety of broccoli that was called broccolini, so I was kind of hoping that it was going to be more like rapini. When it first developed, the broccoli heads, they were the full heads, very much like what you see in the grocery store. And we unfortunately did not harvest them in time because we were unaware of when we were supposed to harvest them. And they started to flower. So they were just a little bit bitter, but we harvested them, blanched them, threw them in the freezer, and we'll throw them into soup throughout the year. But then this plant did the most wonderful thing. It started producing all of these little singular broccolinis, and I have harvested so much of this stuff. I've made 2 huge pots, 20 cups of broccoli soup each, and I actually have tasted it raw and it's quite good. So I would definitely do this one again next year. We did have a little bit of the cabbage worm issue in the broccoli. You might have seen a white butterfly flitting around while I'm talking. But other than that, it's been okay, and I think I would order this one again. I think it was called Aspabroc or something like that. If you want to know the exact name, leave me a comment down below, and I will flip you a response. I'm not sure if I could call our cabbages this year a success. You can see here that this one's kind of doing some weird splitting, as is that one. And we did get an infestation of cabbage worm, but the heads that I have harvested have been really, really wonderful tasting, and I would definitely try this one again next year. I think because we were so busy, I just never got ahead of the cabbage worm. I was able to harvest a few of the leaves and make some great cabbage rolls before the devastation happened. But I'm still going to harvest these. I'm going to clean them up and throw them in the freezer. And we'll try this again next year. I am loving this spinach. It's called New Zealand spinach, and it is super easy to grow. It's a little bit different than your normal spinach. It has a little bit more texture, and it's not as, the taste is not as strong as regular spinach. It's a bit milder. So I actually really like it. I've been using it in juices and salads. It's easy to grow, doesn't bolt in very fast, and does really well in hot weather. One of the plants that we have had so much success with in this garden is zucchini. I don't know why, but they do super well here in our little microclimate. We've had no powdery mildew. We've had no issues with the zucchini whatsoever. They seem to love the heat. This is a variety from West Coast Seeds. It's called Desert, and I'm so super happy with it. I would definitely grow this seed next year again. You can see that they can get quite large. I don't always harvest them at this size, but these are great on the barbecue. What I'll do is I'll cut it off, I'll bring it upstairs, wash it, I'll slice off the bottom, stand it upright, and then cut it really carefully into 1/2 inch to 3/8 of an inch slices. Throw it on the grill with a little olive oil and some salt on high heat, get your grill marks, and then turn the grill down and slow cook it. And it is the most buttery, nutty, mouth-watering zucchini I have ever had. I highly recommend this variety. The only issue when you grow them that big is I do find they steal the energy from some of your other little baby zucchinis, and they tend to not mature, which is fine. I'll do that every once in a while, but some of my other plants that I have here, I just grow the regular store-bought size zucchini. But anyway, I'm going to now harvest this zucchini here. So I'm just going to get in here, cut it off so you can see how big it really is. It's massive and it's so good. These are beautiful zucchinis. I want to say this is almost 2 feet high, and yeah, definitely a winner in this garden. This is our tomato patch, and funny story about these tomatoes. We could not find any tomato seeds at the beginning of the gardening season, and Justin was at the dollar store one day and we lucked out. He found a package of these tiny Tims. It's kind of an interesting plant. It's very compact and low growing, and when you are harvesting the tomatoes, I'm actually finding that I have to lift up the entire plant in order to get some of the tomatoes out. Really easy plant to grow. We did have one pest that showed up. That was the tomato hornworm, and they are not fun to run into. It's about the size of my pinky, and I jumped about 2 feet the first time I saw one, but they're super easy to control if you do have them. All you need to do is pluck them out and throw them into a bucket of soapy water. But if you don't take care of it, they will devastate your tomato plants very fast. When you have a vegetable garden, anything big is exciting. It could be a big plant, it could be a big vegetable, it could be a big harvest. This squash plant here covers all of those things. I planted it at the end of the row and it completely took over the pathway to the back of the garden, and it has produced so much squash. I'm going to take you inside the plant right now and we're going to harvest a few of these so you can see for yourself. Yeah, that would be squash number 7. So you see what I'm talking about? I wish I could even tell you what the name of this squash was. The plant was given to me by my next door neighbor, and I had a couple of them, but I only ended up planting one of them at the end of this row because the other ones, I didn't have room for them, and it took over my pathway, and it has produced a lot of squash. Yeah, it will be known as the lamb baker squash until further notice. Okay, so this is one of the less successful adventures we had in the garden this year. Contrary to the other squash that I showed you, this little bush Delicata did not do so well. It started off fantastic. It grew into this beautiful leafy bush, and as soon as the squashes started to grow, it basically wilted and fell over. I have no idea what happened. I'm too early of a gardener to understand what could possibly have happened, so if anybody does know and you have some experience with this type of squash, please leave your comments down below. It would be greatly appreciated. I'm not sure if I will try these again next year. We'll have to see. I do have a few little squashes. The squashes continue to grow, even though the bush basically fell over. I did try a second row, and maybe in the fall they'll do a little better when it's not so hot, because we did have an extremely hot summer, and I mean extremely hot. So not sure if these are going to be a winner for next year. Maybe they're a little too delicata for me. That's to be continued. Look at this green pepper patch. This has been one of our big successes for sure. It is producing so many beautiful green peppers. We've had no pests and no problems. I just harvested 9 big ones out of the garden a few days ago, and I made some stuffed peppers, which we ate and also stuck in the freezer. And I am about to harvest another, probably 10. Every single plant has at least one big pepper that's ready to harvest. Definitely enjoyed this plant so far. Not a huge pepper fan, but I am finding ways to use this because we've had such a successful harvest. And that was the garden tour for the Holland Housch, August 2020. And I'm going to leave you with this little note. Every garden is going to be its own little microclimate. So what works here is not necessarily going to work for my neighbor a kilometer down the road. So gardening is a process of trial and error, and you also have to figure out what you have the patience to successfully manage. So don't give up hope if your first year didn't go super well. Just keep trying, try different varieties, try different spots in your garden for the vegetables. Over time, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, you will create for yourself a beautiful garden that gives you an abundance of love.